Alrighty, so with Jupiter then, I'm trying to get us past this this slide here that I sort of marked up in previous ones, but just take one more last look at Jupiter, and let's look at it a little more closely now. So the first thing is you notice all these bands here, these color bands on Jupiter, and those are exactly what you might think. They're called, in this case here, belts and zones. So the belts are the dark regions and the zones are the lighter regions here, so you can sort of see how they are drawn. There's the darker regions, there's the lighter ones, and this is the labeling here, which just isn't important to us, but north, of course, stands for north, and S stands for south, because you can picture Jupiter as sort of having an equator right in the middle here, and E even stands for equatorial, and Z for zone, and that sort of thing. The most important takeaway from this is that these arrows here represent the directions that these zones are traveling. So Jupiter doesn't rotate sort of harmoniously all portions together, say the way a solid planet would, like Earth. So like this white zone here, this zone is rotating towards the right, where this belt right next to it is rotating towards the left and right and left and right and left and so on, like that. And that's sort of what Jupiter does. Here's sort of an animation of what that might look like. These are taken, of course, getting close to Jupiter there. And here's sort of a speed up of it, if you will. And so you can see then that the zones here, like this is sort of moving to the left, moving to the right. You can barely see how this one's moving, but this is sort of what the surface of Jupiter might look like. And then this one, which you just can't ignore, this one right here, this is one of Jupiter's most prominent features. It's called the Great Red Spot. It has a reddish color, and what it is basically is a storm. And you can see it sort of swirling. You can see the motion that's going. It's swirling like this here, and it's been going on for about 400 years. And the reason why we know that is because it appears in just every drawing and painting and any illustration of Jupiter over the last 300 or 400 years. So it's just this storm that just doesn't seem to want to die. But that's what you get on these large extreme planets like that, right? And in terms of the rotation, remember Jupiter has this incredibly fast 10-hour rotation. So you take then all of the belts and zones sort of slipping past each other and throw that onto the big planet, just let it all rotate. And this was a sequence of images taken, I believe, on the Hubble Space Telescope. I have the credit link for you there if you want to take a look. But what's nice about this one here is you can see there's the 400-year big red eye storm going on, and you can just see all of these belts and zones just sort of going. It's just amazing. The other thing about Jupiter is because it's so fast, this 10-hour time is so fast here, you can tell that it just isn't a perfect sphere like that. It's sort of flattened a bit like this. This is very extreme here because it's rotating so fast. So you can just sort of tell that like the top and the bottom here appear to be sort of squished together just a little bit owing to its fast rotation. Then of course here at the equator here, it bulges just a little bit out there. Here's a comparison for you for the big red eye. That's 400-year storm compared to the size of the Earth. So remember, Jupiter is just gigantic. That's a good scale for you right here. Remember, this is a storm that's been brewing on the planet for 400 years. And as you started to approach Jupiter, this is a sort of a mock-up of the Galileo space probe that was sent over there. So this is sort of the probe approaching it. And I just sort of like this because you got closer and closer to Jupiter. This is sort of what you'd see. You know, you would just really start to get into seeing these clouds, because that's really what Jupiter's all about, is these clouds here. And this is a fireball here, not to be anything dramatic here, but this is sort of what the Galileo space probe might have looked like as it was entering Jupiter's atmosphere. So of course it gets really hot and sort of starts to burn like this, but inside of this there's a heat shield protected space probe that did make it down in Jupiter's atmosphere. Don't worry about that. But the reason why I like this graphic here, because it just gives you a little bit of an idea of what it would look like then if you got really close to Jupiter's surface. So it would just be all clouds like this. And the other thing I kind of like about this graphic is you can see some stars in the background here. There's a bunch of stars all over the place like this that we might see even on Earth here. So remember, the view from Jupiter of the galaxy would be what it would be, and we would share some common views on Earth here. But as you approach that surface, you would just be going down into one of these, into the cloud deck. So that's sort of what it would look like there.